fast because I think Chris was just like, I've heard his nickname, but I ain't fitting to say it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, was there an issue? I don't understand. Oh, you guys clue me in here. And then Robin was just like,
Thank you guys for being here. Yeah, even though I guess you guys are technically in the same place and everything. For the audience that's watching, literally Glori went to, right before we started recording, went over to Don, made sure his lips were all right, make sure everything, and it's funny watching her go into the other film on that. But how are you guys doing this morning? Thank you guys for joining me.
Pretty good, man. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. How about you, Glori? How are you doing this morning?
I'm cardioed, hydrated, and I just eated it. So I'm good.
Eated it?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely I enjoy working out before these episodes too. So it's the only thing that kind of gets challenging sometimes in the middle of this. I start getting really hungry before the episode ends. So I'm just like, even though I got like 30 minutes left in the interview, I'm just like, give me some protein powder, give me some carbs. Like, hurry up. I don't care about your story anymore. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But anyway.
It's funny that you say that because when we started, I was like, babe, we need to eat. Like, I was like, it's just a thing. Because we, as like anything that gets thrown into the mix, you just kind of get sidetracked. The priority is this. We're sitting down, we're getting ready, and I'm like, we don't eat that. That meant the anabolic window and the hunger, and then you're not going to get the real us or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting too, like based off of like where you are in your prep or where you are with what you're eating, it determines your entire mood for how you can ever be in these episodes. Like if we'd have been doing this interview a week before like my last show, I would have been just hangry, like, dude, talk now, stop, whatever, and it's interesting how we do that. But let's just get into this because I met you guys at the Florida Pro, and I two things. First of all, I love your guys' nicknames, especially yours, Don, and I glorified your nickname, Sexual Chocolate, all the way throughout the entire live stream. And you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah, you made it.
Go ahead, Don.
No, I say you made it happen.
I think someone else made it happen. I just kept perpetuating it. It was an earned nickname, right? So where did you get Sexual Chocolate from? And kind of, can you go into that a little bit?
You want me to explain?
Yeah, I would love for you to, man.
Well, the person who gave me that name is currently in the room. So,
okay.
It's something that was given. It was a pet name. Started out as a pet name, I guess. And it's something that I didn't pay attention to, and it sort of spread. She spread it, and she put it. Yeah. So the way it works with Glori is anything she puts on her story, and I tell her she has to be careful because anything she puts on her story becomes law. So once you put it on her story, yeah.
Or lore.
Once you put it on her story, I knew it was going to catch on, and I guess the timing was pretty good. I actually went on stage that morning. I didn't know until I got off stage and watched the live stream for the Florida State Natural, the one on Saturday. And my brother texted me. He said, "Sexual chocolate?" ?
Oh man! And how did you respond?
He said, "I don't know who you are anymore." I said, just like that. I didn't know what to say. So he called me on video. Congratulations, man! Everybody's talking about you, but Sexual Chocolate. I'm like,
oh,
then it took off from there. So
I feel like you should have been like, "That's Mr. Sexual Chocolate to you, goddammit." You know what I mean?
Well, it escalated. It started at Sexual Chocolate. It started as number 20. Then it went to Sexual Chocolate. Then it went to Mr. Sexual Chocolate. Then it went to professional.
2 times.
Mr. Professional Sexual Chocolate.
Something like that. Yeah.
Then I guess if you ever like go down to Mexico, Senor Sexual Chocolate, and then
Senor, yeah.
and then Wait, Gloria, and then your nickname is Diesel. How did you get that nickname?
Well, I also just want to add a little bit more context because I've never heard him tell this story. I've never heard him embrace sexual chocolate. So this is just a moment for me that I need to savor, number one. Okay. And then the fact that my dad, he sends me memes and he said he put S and then chocolate. And I was like, my father is now referring to this man as S chocolate. And I am here for this. This is not.
Oh my God.
But it honestly, it is like funny, sexual chocolate, pet name, whatever. But it's also the whole coming to America. It just keeps giving, like the immigrant king, immigrant prince, right? He came here and now, and the whole thing. So it just keeps giving. And then the whole that boy good, he's a newcomer to the scene. But that boy, everybody's like, man, his conditioning though. And I was like, sexual chocolate. Like it's done.
So while everybody else is kind of like marveled and in awe of who the heck is this guy, you're like, this is my sexual chocolate. Duh.
He's our, well, I should watch myself. I was going to say he's our sexual chocolate. He's that's debatable. That's a public name, so maybe. But I don't want to put that out there. But it is what it is. I mean, I told you. I tried to tell you. I tried. Nobody listened.
Right.
So my nickname, unlike Don's, I actually gave it to myself.
That's self-proclaimed nickname.
Yes. I was just like, whenever I would flex on them, because with figure you don't really get to flex like that. You have your mandatories or what have you. But if you're lean, if you're contest ready, and you're training in the gym, you're gonna flex. It's just inevitable. We all love a good side chest. You know what I'm saying? And then in sometimes training with Don and him posing, he was posing more for bodybuilding versus classic. And I can't help but emulate, and when I can see vascularity, when there's a pump and everything else, and just in general being like that, I would be like, Diesel, and I just kept saying it, And then Diesel Glori just kind of came from there. And as I got to do more stage routines, as I kind of embraced women's physique a little bit more and women's bodybuilding, I just kept saying Diesel all the time. And I was like, Diesel Glori, hashtag, And the fact is, friends really do carry the flame, because that's my own little brainchild. I was enjoying hashtag Diesel. But then I think it was my friend Adrian that literally referred to me as Diesel Glori. And I was like, that does have a ring to it, So it went from just me proclaiming Diesel to it being like Diesel Glori as a thing. Yeah.
Okay. Whoa. I think I accidentally, hold up. Oh, can you guys hear me?
That was the Diesel energy creating the waves.
I hear you.
Okay. No, I my bad. I accidentally muted myself. I don't know what I just did on this. Software problems. 100 software problems. Anyways, so sexual chocolate, Diesel Glori. And so you got yours off of kind of like watching Don flex, watching Don do his posing routines and whatnot. Is that something that you guys do together? Do you guys pose together? You guys train together? Like kind of take us into what that's like training and prepping as like a couple for these shows.
Baby Daddy, do you want to take that over, or do you want me to? Because I got shit to say.
I don't know. You go ahead.
I actually want to hear your perspective on this too, Don. After she explains, I do want to hear it.
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. She has a lot more to say about it.
Okay. All right, Glory. I want to hear this. Yeah.
So it's funny that people are coming to know us now when we're like so much closer and we're doing so much together and we're sharing the stage. But like that ain't how it started. I'm the bodybuilder. I'm the one that hit the stage more. Like all last year, I did a freaking circuit. The Mr. America, the USBF championships, the this and that. I was bobbing around. And Don wasn't yet prepping. I think he was in a building phase with his coach. So he was kind of like my partner. We're still new and fresh to this. And, also I wasn't doing as much posing practice because, figure is kind of supposedly my lane and all that. So, yeah, we didn't really train together because we were on different programs, different focuses. We weren't posing together as such. But at a certain point, whenever he would be on my side of town, if I was training and he was if we trained together, if it incidentally happened that we trained together, and we had the energy, we'd go into the group fitness room and maybe pose a little bit. He would hit his mandatories because you should always be posing, even if you're not in season. If you're a competitor, you should be. And, I would observe
be
him.
posing, as they say, right?
as
Always
Joe
be
Sarah
posing.
says.
Always be posing.
You
Okay.
know. And so he would poses, and then I would practice some poses as well. But it was never like a couples thing that we did like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And even the routines, I don't know if it's a feature of logistics and, you know, his posing coach and him being on one side of town, in general, his schedule being opposite to mine. I don't know. Or if it's a feature of our learning styles, you know, to some people, I think most people, bodybuilding is personal. You know, you have to understand in here before you start necessarily doing it out there. So that's the case for me. Like, I practice my routines and study the poses he alone and really figure it out. Then do what do they call it? Like, you have to understand the positioning before you get into the details. At least that's my style. Like, if I'm gonna have a sequence of poses, I just focus on getting into the right position. Then I refine, like, okay, what angle, what this and that, you know?
Right.
All that is stuff that I'm really distractible. I'd rather just figure that out at home, and then I can publicly do it in a group fitness room, in front of boothing, on camera, you know. But I got to get the basics down on my own, and so all the more reason why posing together wasn't really a thing. But of course, now fast forward to this year when we were both prepping at the same time. Then we had more opportunities to both train together and do a number of other things together that aligned with that target date and that situation. So yeah, everything everyone's seeing now, this whole dynamic duo, I legit didn't even see his routine for the Florida Pro. I had not seen it. That mess was a complete new thing to me. I knew the song, but I had not seen the routine.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And then I kind of remember on your YouTube video, I think you kind of missed his routine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And that's
man.
the other thing. It was so rough. I did miss it. The context for that is something we can get into if you'd like. And if, you know, but I will say that's where Sammy Joe and you and that live stream were the only, like, that mess lifted me out of a dark, dark place. Like, I was just, you know, I'm dehydrated, I'm depleted, I'm emotional, I'm devastated.
Right.
All of these things, and then I finally get a few minutes with him. Robin had let me use her room because she was staying at the venue. Get a few minutes alone with him, and I'm just like, can we watch the live stream? And he's like, yeah, okay, because he hadn't seen it either. You know, he's just coming off the stage or whatever. And when she said, because you were the catalyst, you were like, oh, what's his nickname? Like, you just walked into that shit. You were like, oh, he has a nickname? What is it? Oh, why can't we say it?
I hope that's not how I sounded the live stream. Oh, well, that's his nickname? Let me just go say it now, guys.
No, you had very innocently asked, because I think Chris was just like, I've heard his nickname, but I ain't fitting to say it. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, was there an issue? Is it vulgar? I don't understand. Oh, you guys flew me in here. And then Robin was just like, but when I tell you that God. I had cried my eyes out, I had like sobbed, I dropped my phone, and then I rushed back to the venue, and then I had to find him, and the whole saga, me, you know, just shaking. And we hit that play button. And when that happened, it was like a flipping of the switch with my mood. It went from the darkest dark to, like, I literally tripped over the tripod in the hotel room when I heard him say it, and then the laughter and everything. And I was like, is this real life? Is this real life on YouTube forever? Ah! And then, of course, you kept it going. So I was like, I'm here for Alan. Alan is the best. This is the best.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. And well, here's two things. First of all, that was my favorite nickname by far throughout the entire venue. And then Don effing killed it when he got up on stage. Like, everything, like, I became Don's like number one fan. I swear to God. As soon as I saw him on their stage, as soon as I saw him with, like, you know, just killing it, the 23-inch waist that we kept on talking about at the show. So Don, can you kind of share with us what that was like? You know, everything with training with Glori to getting up on stage and honing the Senor Sexual Chocolate persona up on there, and kind of, can you go into that, please?
Undeniable.
Yeah. So Glori's she told part of the story. We would go to the
Okay.
gym together.
Okay.
Listen,
Okay.
we would walk through the doors together, and then we would split our separate ways. So in
Mm.
terms of training together, that's not something that happened until quite recently.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, she's ever since we met, she's been a big supporter of mine, even though I wasn't competing at the time, and vice versa. She did a series of shows, sort of like I did this season. She did a series of shows similar to that last season, which of course, you have your highs and your lows, and prep is never fun. It's hard, but it's necessary. But so it's something that she was able to support me the way I was able to support her last season, right? So in terms of training together, yeah, we have gotten to the place to where we can train together and bounce ideas off each other and sort of motivate each other as well. Because about a year ago, I had a training partner, and I started going to a different gym,
Hmm.
and so I've been training pretty much by myself for the past year, a little bit over a year at this point. There's nothing wrong with him as a training partner. It's just we our schedules didn't match. We
Hmm.
the different gyms, and so that's how it's been. I've been accustomed to training alone and working through my sets alone and finding the motivation either through music in my headphones or um, just by looking around, soaking up the environment. You know, we all watch videos prior to going to the gym sometimes, some motivational videos and stuff like that. So that's what's been keeping me going. But it's a breath of fresh air to be able to train with somebody who sort of understands how hard it can be,
Mm.
but also have the mental vision that something greater than ourselves is possible.
Mm.
So I've been able to find that in Glory, and I hope vice versa. But there's
Damn.
that. Now, in terms of I forgot the other question.
No, well, I'll talk about I asked you about the training with Glory, which was beautiful, man. I really appreciate that.
Hmm.
And then how did you take that onto stage at the Florida Pro? Like, how was it being on, kind of making the huge impact that you made, and then kind of owning that first day? In my
Right,
opinion, like, how was that for you?
right. So, I'm grateful. I want to shout out. I'm going to shout out a few people as we go along.
Okay.
Uh, Shout out to Keith Showtime Keith. Um, so we had an event where Glory was doing a her first MC event at his show, his inaugural show, and
An MT event, is
I don't
that
know how it
what's an
happened.
MT event?
MC. She was
I was
Oh,
MC.
shoot, you're an
MC.
MCing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
At that event,
okay.
at the show, yeah, she was MCing there, and so I planned to go over there with her and support her. It was in Jacksonville, and a few days before we went down, maybe it's the week of, I think that Monday or Tuesday actually, before we went down, I get a message from Keith says he wants to speak with me, and then I get a call from Keith, and we got on the phone, and I know Keith through Glory, but I not very well at the time, and so we get on the phone, and he's asking, "Hey champ, how you looking? You getting ready to do a show soon, which would be the Florida Pro." His show was about 5 weeks exactly, if not a little bit over 5 weeks from the Florida Pro.
That was a
So we're
Showtime
coming
classic,
down and
correct?
Showtime Classic, yeah,
Okay, okay.
that's correct. And he calls me that Monday and says, "Hey champ, you thinking about doing my show?" I said, "No, I'm getting ready for the
7 weeks out, I'm
because
like,
the
I
way
don't
I
want
the way I
to
am yeah the way I am I like to take what I do serious and bodybuilding is a craft that if the more you put into it or the more serious you are about it, um, the better you tend to do. You
Mm-hmm.
can have your fun along the way, but it's something that I take serious. So he says, I said, you know, I'm 5 weeks out. He says, yeah, I know. That's why I asked. I said, well, it's something that I wasn't planning on. I wasn't. But he said, yeah, think about it this way. It'd probably be a good warm up show. You haven't been on stage in a while. It's something that'll be good for you. Think about it. Let me know. Of
Mm.
course, so I thought about it, and then the next day, the very next day, I reached back out to him and said, okay, let's do it. I said, I'm gonna be there anyway. Um, it's not much more, you know. Um, and why not? We'll get the jitters out the way and everything like that. And so I was able to do the show and was very successful at the show. I ended up earning my NGA Pro card in bodybuilding at that particular show,
Okay.
which I believe was the catalyst and what gave me the momentum to be able to come with as much confidence as I did at the Florida State Natural. Um,
Mm.
so when I did that, I got the jitters out the way and um, I love the stage. I love to be on the stage. I love to present my package and what I've worked so hard to achieve. And it's something that it's the pinnacle of bodybuilding for me. That's what I look forward to. So while I'm in the gym, I'm grinding. While I'm eating asparagus and chicken and putting force grinded salt
Oh, the
on
salt,
my
the
chicken.
Himalayan salt on everything,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Eating 6 times a day and tired and cardio about an hour a day. That's what keeps me going. The fact that I get to go on stage and because
Mm.
what ends up happening is we control everything leading up to the stage. And once we get on the stage, everything's in the judge's hands at that point. So I was able to take that into consideration and having the momentum, having the exposure, and the support from the Showtime Classic helped me have the
Mm.
confidence and be able to present my better or a better package at that point.
Right. That's that's interesting that you mentioned that 5 weeks prior you did a show leading up into it to give you a little bit of a confidence boost because when you were on stage,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, like I said, you carried that first day. So it's surprising to me that there was any jitters and B, I don't know. I guess I just did not expect you to be kind of coming in from such a, I hate to say like an amateur-esque mindset, but I think it's interesting because we always see the final product on stage. We see everybody all tanned up, looking nice, makeup, trunks, the whole 9 yards. And then kind of what you just alluded to, there's so much more behind just those 10 seconds, 15 seconds of fame on stage. It's all the
Right.
work, the asparagus, the salt, the cardio. And you know, for me, I've regularly preached to people about that's what actually makes that competition so damn unique. It's not exactly the final result that you have on stage, but rather everything you invested into yourself to get up on stage. And that notion in of itself is just so developing for the inner human per se, for all of us. And that's one
Right.
of the many reasons that I definitely preach for people getting on stage. Um, can Glori, can you kind of go into what
I
well
have
can you
so much to say. I can't even.
oh
I
no,
can.
by all means, you know what,
Oh
go
my
ahead.
god. Oh
No,
my
go
god.
ahead.
Oh my god.
Go ahead, Glori.
So
Let's go with it.
it's amazing to hear him speak because I am a talker. You already know I talk over him all the time. It's awful. But right now I get to hear him and I'm like, oh my God, baby Denny, that's such a nice retelling. Oh my God, I didn't realize it felt like that for you. Oh my God. But on top of that, I made a face because I was like, I wanted to throw a joke in there where you were like, so I told him yes, I would do the show. I just decided. And I wanted to be like, sir, I put you in a rear naked joke. And I was like, you doing the show. But that's not how it went down. It really was his joke. But I couldn't pass on the joke, you know? I was like, bruh. They don't say bruh, it's the dude. Right. But so I will say this one of the things about bodybuilding, and this all ties in, that a lot of people don't understand because there's definitely stages of it. You know, when you're first starting out, it's all about getting used to a meal plan and doing the thing, and then the stage is intimidating, yada, yada. But as you advance, it's the dichotomy. The dichotomy in bodybuilding is what will make the person. And what I mean by that is you go through this period where you're restricting. Then all of a sudden you have to eat more. Like what? Like it's these rapid shifts, or, restricting carbs, for instance. And then on show day, it's like you're not tracking anything as far as steps. You're not exercising. You're eating a lot of carbs. It's just like you go from training for one series of conditions to just in a 24-hour period, flipping that on its head and somehow being okay with it. And you're not, because psychologically you've just spent 18 or something weeks trying to do things one way, develop certain skills, hone in on one mentality, and then you just have to let go and let God or something. It's a lot. So similarly for Mr. Two-Time Professional Sexual Chocolate, I keep thinking about the fact that, like, I saw his potential. I know he's good. I've lived by his side and see how when he's in that zone, he's adherent as hell. Like, it's the most adherent to a detriment, right? Like all these other things, all these other check boxes take precedent over his sleep, over his anything. It's like, I got to do these things. This is my job. No cravings, no temptations. Dude can stare at a freaking cake and just be like, I don't see that. I don't register this as a thing that is edible. I don't know because I'm on the clock right now. Like, he's so focused. But here's the thing. He had only competed one time prior to the showtime.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So that was the NPC post that I saw from, was it 2021? Is that what that was like? Yeah. Glori had actually told me, which I didn't know, that you guys actually both competed in that show, but you guys just didn't meet actually at that time.
Didn't meet. But the psychology,
we didn't know either.
We didn't know each other. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What were you saying, Glori?
To illuminate the psychology of what he's saying, he takes it seriously. So he competed that one time, and then it's like back to the drawing board. Also, if that was his first stage experience, as I just said, our first stage experience is just, I don't want to say it's not relevant, but it is it's not what you saw at the Florida State Championships. You know what I mean?
Well, what do you mean by that? It's being different.
It's your first time on stage. It's almost like inevitably, I don't know about Don specifically, but inevitably I feel like because you're in the hands of others, it's not really your prep. You're kind of more concerned with adherence to the coach's plan. You're more attached to the coach, or like maybe even the motivational stuff. You're trying to be a bodybuilder. You're trying to play a bodybuilder, right? You haven't really developed your philosophy prep. Your first show, I doubt. I don't know a lot of people. There's different camps for how to prep. I feel like your first show, it's just a learning experience. It's a stimulating challenge, but like your personality may not have been as big of a feature in a show. You're really a learner's mindset. The stage is super intimidating because it's your very first time doing it.
Right.
You have no idea how to peak. You're literally dependent on so many people to support you in finalizing that vision. You don't even know if you like this.
That's true.
Never been on stage.
That's
You're
true.
just like, I want to do this. I hired a coach. I'm hungry. Cardio. You don't even know what you look like against other people. You don't know if your side, like even for me, Boothing had to show me that the side chest, the forearm has to be kind of parallel to the ground, versus sometimes you think it's more bicep, and you're like those little details that actually translate in the comparison photos. You have no freaking frame of reference. Right. All you see is muscles when you look at other people on stage. Like, they look good. Like no context. So I feel like the first experience is just a necessary thing, a rite of passage, but it's not at all like subsequent preps where you kind of become who you find your reason, you find your motivation, you have a vision, like, gotta surpass my previous package because I actually have a previous package. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I have standards now, like all that.
Wow.
And also, the nerves, you have that expectation. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody, their first show, the backstage chaos is like, wow, like you didn't realize it, guys, it's that crazy. But then after that you do, and so you prepare accordingly. But with that being said, I was always blown away in meeting him, because he was like lifestyle lean when I met him. I think he just looked good and looked real good. But the point is,
did you bite your lower lip there? I mean, what was that?
He looked good, but I couldn't believe that he'd only competed once. And I couldn't believe that he wasn't prepping for a show. Like I was like, you are, and I was like, you natty, like what the, and I was like, you need to compete. Like you already love the sport, you're studying the sport. But of course he had a vision. He wanted to surpass his package. And he also has his own ambitions that he can speak to. And I'm over here like, I love the natty space. Did you know there's actually a pretty elite natty space? Like, I think you would do really well, But all that being said, just kind of filling in the blanks on what he shared, is that I also didn't believe in the idea of warm-up shows. I feel like why spend the money? Why, you know what I mean? Just prepare and be ready. But his experience really changed that for me. Like,
Nice.
even if you are experienced, there is nothing like, you can train all day, you can pose all day, but there is nothing like show day. You cannot replicate show day. And you need to, if you're serious, if you want to be a lead, or you want to, there's no harm in doing more shows as leading up to the big show, right? Because the momentum does carry you. The stage photos are very instructive. And yeah, getting, having that stage experience, the more the better. So I know that's a lot, but I think the context of the fact that he had not competed in years, it was his first natty show. He was not anywhere near the condition that he wanted to be, that he would have mentally had the confidence to step on that stage. So it blew my mind when he did step on stage that first time, because it was almost like I saw a change in his body. Like I knew how uncomfortable he was with that day, because he wasn't in his condition, like the condition, his standard that he has for himself. So I know how that gets in your head. So when I did see him step on stage at the Showtime, because I was emceeing, but I was like, I'm not going to be on that podium when he goes on stage, right?
Of course.
In the audience. And they were like, yeah. So, when I saw him, it was like he just, the moment his foot hit that stage, it was a different person. And that was amazing to witness. Amazing. And the other thing about those smaller shows is a lot of times they don't have live streams. So you don't have to necessarily feel like you're putting out something about yourself that you're not exactly thrilled about. You know what I mean? It's really good conditions. So I will stop talking now. Then, what I'm saying?
No. You highlight something that I love highlighting to other people that aren't in the competition space, which is every single competition is its own respective journey. And it's the journey is so different and it's so variable depending on the athlete in of itself. When I first competed, I think a lot of what you just said is just, definitely I can relate to, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know if I was good enough to step up on stage. I didn't know all these other different things. But for me, and we're going to get really deep with this on this segment right here. For me, I realized that actually reflected in a lot of other areas of my life. There are other aspects of my life that I wanted to go after, but I told myself some kind of a story. I questioned my value. I questioned my worth. And that ultimately had me not actually go after things that I really wanted in my life, something like competing. And it wasn't until I actually went through with signing up for a coach, signing up for a competition, and getting up on stage, that big moment, that, the whole time I was like, man, I'm not going to be good enough. I'm not going to look at all these other people, But I realized when I got up on stage, it was never about anybody else, but it was only about me against myself and all those self-limiting beliefs, self-doubt. And when I found that, when you sign up for a competition and when you achieve something that you otherwise would not believe that you're good enough for, or that you think you can actually hold your own in, once you prove that to yourself, it's like so many other avenues in your life that you would otherwise mentally think about that you're not good enough for, but you want, or you just wish you can do it. You just don't know how. Those elements now all of a sudden become possible, because you realize it's never about like the actual accolade, but rather the person and the way you build yourself towards them. And so it's really interesting, because kind of what you're saying about Don, because I definitely, before this, I Instacreep both of you guys to get some kind of reference on what we're going to talk about. But I saw Don's like initial photos. I'm like, this dude is a man beast. Like, what the fuck? Like, holy crap. I mean, because on the last episode I had with Frederick and Nay, we talked about how when he showed up to the Florida Pro, it's crazy to see how much your natural genetics can actually how it can be displayed just based off of that show in of itself. And Don, again, you are one of the people that changed my entire paradigm of what is possible. And so it's interesting to hear that it kind of took a little bit of encouragement to say, hey, we think you're ready. We think like, no, I'm not. So Don, can you kind of go into, I guess, that process? Like, what did it take for you to start like working out? And then at what point did you like, oh, hey, maybe this is possible. Hey, is this a goal? And can you kind of go into what that was like?
I grew up, I don't say working out, but I grew up push-ups and ab crunches and stuff like that. But seriously, I've been training about 2.5 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If you can believe it, COVID, so around March of 2020, I was 174 pounds. Uh, the world was shut down, and I
Can we
went to
show him
YouTube
that picture?
University. I learned how to cook.
You say what? Show that 174-pound picture? Well, is it like, is it bad? Is it, I mean,
spiritually, prosperous, I guess.
spiritually prosperous photo. It's a really interesting way to describe a photo. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh my God.
He's not fat. He's spiritually prosperous.
You
like what?
The Buddha.
The Buddha.
Buddha.
I was happy here.
Oh man, so you're like sexual dumpling, huh? No sexual chocolate at that point.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You put it on me.
Oh man. Okay.
So
2020.
so about September of 2020 is when my local gym opened up. It was a rec center, so a community gym that was just something in the community, almost like a YMCA, but with less equipment. And I just started going to the gym. You know, um, I wanted to feel fit again.
Mm.
So went to the gym. I met one of my best friends, Alex, and he suggested that I should compete. And I said, not really. I don't want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Because although I grew up with bodybuilding, watching bodybuilders, um, I grew up studying Dorian Yates, watching Kai Green as he went through his transformations, and as well as Phil Heath, of course, and sort of modern, but also studying the past, the Frank
Golden Era.
Zane, the Dorian Yates,
Okay.
um, Serge Nubret. So I grew up loving bodybuilding, but I could never fathom myself being, as big as these bodybuilders. Um, so when he suggested that I should compete, I'm like, granted, he was the biggest guy in the gym, like literally, like.
Mm-hmm.
So he suggested I compete. I said, oh, no. So he kept pushing it, and I said, okay, fine. I told him I would compete, and we set a date for the Thai Pope, which was about 6, 7 months from the time that I decided.
Wow.
So for me, and this is something that I tell my clients as well, um, as a coach and as a trainer, I tell my clients that if you are serious about something, you put some skin in the game. So what
Mm.
I did, I put my money where my mouth was. I signed up for the show, and I said, worst case scenario, um, even if I don't do the show, I'll be in a better position. I'll be more fit, and that'll give me the motivation that I need to be able to, you know, it'll light the fire under me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So we pushed, and he was very instrumental in helping me um, learn some of the things that I didn't know were possible, the techniques, the movements, and in doing so, I was able to accomplish that physique. So some of my earlier pictures, you'll see where I was a little bit chunky, and it was me getting into the gym. And I think I have a transformation picture here or there um, that I put posted shortly after the show, after doing the typo.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture a few days after the typo, which was like on the 21st or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
and a picture about when I started, and it's about a 7 month difference. Um, and I was proud of my placing. I think I placed first in bodybuilding,
Whew.
and I think I placed third in classic. And at a prestigious show like that, NPC show, I knew nothing about the natural side. So
Right.
all I knew was NPC because that's what I was introduced to. So
Mm-hmm.
um, so I was proud of myself for the placing, but more proud of myself for the commitment and keeping up with it
Yeah.
and sticking to everything. So and like I said, getting on stage in high school, I used to wrestle. I wrestled. I did Olympic weightlifting at some point, but I was always a small guy. I weighed 119 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 120 soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that I aspired to be, this bodybuilder, but I've always admired them. So um, I find passion in the journey, and so I fall in love with the process every time. So as hard as it is, like, as I mentioned before, as hard as it can be, um, if you fall in love with the process, it's not as chore like, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so in doing these shows, I'm very strategic in the way I do shows. I don't I don't I don't chase trophies. I don't chase accolades or anything like that. I'm very strategic in the shows that I pick out to do. But I'm also very determined in the work that I put in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and same thing with the Florida Pro. I think September, October, around there of last year is when we talked
Mm-hmm.
about it. I kicked it around. I'm like, oh, okay. And she gave me credit. She says I was in shape, but in my eyes, compared to where I am now, I wasn't in shape. I knew I could do better, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't competing. It was just a lifestyle. At that point, I was working a lot, and so we talked about it. And same thing. I ended up paying for the show and paid for classic and bodybuilding. And so when I won my classic or my bodybuilding pro card at the Showtime Classic, I had to reach out to Daryl and say, "Hey, I'm a pro. There's really no need for me to do the amateur at this point at your show." So, but that just goes to show you that I'm, I still have the mentality to put your money where your mouth is. You know, stick by what you mean, say what you mean, right? But
Absolutely.
I'm glad where I am now, and yeah, we're still pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So I got a question here real quick because I've been getting in these kind of discussions because I am barely getting into the sport. Don, can you? This is one of the more challenging things that I have to constantly try to contrast. What's the real difference between, like, in your words, what's the difference between bodybuilding and classic physique?
Glad you asked. So bodybuilding was the only comparison I can make really to give you a visual would be um bodybuilding would be more so like I want to say like Ronnie Coleman, whereas classic would be more so Frank Zane, golden era, as Glory was mentioning before. Um, so bodybuilding is classic was made specifically to allow competitors like me who didn't want to push the limits, who didn't want to go to the dark side, if I can say so,
Yeah.
who didn't want to do that to be able to compete in an organization that otherwise is insurmountable.
Hmm.
So classic comes with the height requirements, the weight requirements, so it puts you in your category for the body for the shape that fits you or the body that fits you.
Mhm.
if that makes sense. The shapes are all different, of course, but the we can measure by height, we can measure by body weight.
Mhm.
And if you're in your own category, you know you're going against the best in your category. Where a guy like me, I think my last show was the Mid Florida Classic a few weeks ago, about 2, 3 weeks ago. Um, I placed first in my class for bodybuilding, which was amazing at an NPC show and a show like that, or any show for that matter. But then I'm placed against these guys who are in the overall, of course, who are 70 plus. So the guy next to me, it was four guys,
Pictures.
four guys, and the guy next to me was the closest in weight to me. I weighed 135 going on to the stage, and on stage he was 205. So that's 70, literally 70 pounds more.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then it just went up from there. So that was
Yeah, I have
lightweight.
amazing pictures. It's
That
amazing.
was
Amazing.
Wait,
lightweight, light heavyweight. Let me say that. I did
so,
lightweight.
sorry,
He
I
was
was
light
just hearing,
heavyweight, and it just
Ronnie
went up.
Coleman, lightweight, baby.
Yeah. Actually,
Like,
that's a good reimagining of that expression. Like, lightweight,
wow,
Yeah. So
70
it's
I
pounds.
got pictures. You don't even know. It was the most
70.
amazing thing to see. And you know me, I'm
Wow.
gonna rush in here. The judges apparently said that was one of the toughest classes to call because yes, you see it. It's like huge, super heavyweight, and so on. Then you see Don at the very end. It was like a friggin' like steep thing. But like, who brought the conditioning though?
Wow. I,
Baby
wow.
daddy brought the conditioning and his proportions and his weight. It's just so freaking cool to see. And I definitely have photos of that. And then I know you're not asking me, but I'm gonna say it anyway. My
No, go
succinct
ahead.
explanation is, to me, bodybuilding is about size and
Hmm.
mass. Same shit, but you know what I mean. It's bulk, right? Lean
Okay.
bulk, if you will, in my mind. I even think of shapes and I think solid, roundish, like Florida. Like I just think of a compact, like how much muscle is crammed into like a pretzel wrap. And then I think that classic is about aesthetics.
Okay.
Like with bodybuilding, I don't think people get knocked if their waist is distended a little bit because you still see abs people have, you know. And I think it's like how much cake and how much leg and how much hair compacted in there. And it's all about how much size can you pack onto a frame, again with conditioning, the most elite conditioning. But then when I think of classic, I'm like, aesthetics matter. You know, you have to have, just
Mm.
like in every other division in bodybuilding, your waist does matter, and you want to have that X frame. Like I don't feel like an X frame is quite a feature in bodybuilding in the same way. Like if you have it, cool, but it's not going to make or break it for you. But in classic, it does, in my view,
Okay.
from my
Well,
observation. Yeah, please speak on that.
I will say I will say this, Alan, just to finish and round out and answering your question. It's a little confusing for me as well. I understand it a lot more now, but
Mm.
it sort of blends to where, like Glory was saying, the shape is more important. The shape and symmetry is more important in classic. If you're looking at a classic guy versus a bodybuilding guy, you can be not as shapely in bodybuilding as long as you have the muscle mass and the vascularity, where they expect you to be a little bit softer or a little bit more, yeah, a little bit softer. In classic, you don't have to be as grainy and as vascular in classic, as long as you have the shape and you know how to present it in terms of posing. However, we do see shows and where guys who either do crossovers win, um, they'll win bodybuilding, right, and then they'll win uh, classic, but then
Hmm.
they'll go ahead and win the men's physique as well. But then you'll go, and this is where the controversy is, right? And
Yeah.
you'll go as an individual, right? Um, and you'll ask judges for feedback, and they'll tell you, well, your conditioning could have been a little bit better, or your shape is better for classic. And I get this all the time. Your shape is better for classic, or better for bodybuilding, and it's sort of split for me, where I can dabble in both. Most people can't, so I'm grateful for that. But if all of these categories have different criteria, how is it that one person is winning all of these different categories in one day? So it is a little biased. I mean, bodybuilding is a subjective sport. You put yourself out there, you put yourself up there to be judged by human beings, and we're
Yeah.
flawed as human beings. So as much as we have rubrics to and judging criteria to be able to go by, as well they do as judges. We're still imperfect as human beings, and we still have our preferences
Hmm.
on what we like.
Mm.
So in seeing that, and I mean, all we can do is work harder. Either
Yeah.
bring a better package next time that's undeniable, or
Hmm.
Right.
quit the sport. That's
Yeah.
the reality of it. But yeah, that's where we are. So it is confusing
It is.
between those lines, but it's I think it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah. I find it so ironic that we build ourselves for an extended period of times to these objective standards only to be judged subjectively on stage. Is what we're talking about. That's the craziest thing. I mean, you have to be
Right.
insane to be in this sport. I'm not going to lie. You have to kind of be a little bit crazy. You kind of have to love a little bit of self-deprecation and love a little bit of torture per se, because they're definitely, just like you said, you're building yourself up only to put all of that value into someone's opinion about what they prefer, and you just don't know what they're looking for. I definitely feel like our sport could do a lot better if there was a lot more clear guidelines as what the hell they're looking for. Because I could definitely say that I've been at certain shows now where I've seen it where it just feels like some people are crowd favorites, and although they look great on stage, it's like, oh well, they're a bodybuilder. Well, what are they supposed to be? They're supposed to look like bodybuilders. All right, what does that mean? They build their bodies. Like, okay, what does that mean? But they're like, oh well, this guy has a good name, and that's why he won. But then like
Mm.
this last
Yeah.
year's Florida Pro between Michael Chidozi, Alex. I think you were on stage for that too, Don, right? Like you were competing against them as
His
well.
pro
Yeah.
debut. That was his
Right.
pro
And Don,
debut.
Yeah.
and Don,
On the Sunday, yeah, I was.
right. But I remember like those the top three up there. Like I'm like I can't.
And
Right, and Alex, right, and oh my God, Alex did well too.
Alex,
Alex, sorry,
I
Alex
had
or
to
Alec.
remember too
Uh,
why I
uh,
say it. Who's
uh,
Alex? I have to remind myself.
okay, well, I mean, I'll let him correct me. I'm gonna I'll let him go. Like, yeah, you should have fixed that one.
Okay.
But I remember I was sitting there just as a complete, I'm not, obviously I haven't been in the sport for very long, but I remember sitting there like, how do you pick between these three? How do you say which one? And even when you're on stage,
Right.
Don, I'm like, how can you say Don's not up there with everybody else? And so therefore, like,
Right.
A, I'm happy I'm not a judge, but B, I kind of wish there was a little bit more, there was a clearer criteria for us to
Right.
understand what that means. Because even in physique, like you just said, there's some physique athletes where I'm sitting there, I'm like, like for example, I was sitting next to Eric Shelton during the Florida, and I was looking at this guy. I'm like, how do we compete in the same division? Like how does this guy
Right.
is a freaking man child? And it's just like,
Right.
oh my God,
Right.
oh my God,
Right.
Um, I wanted to highlight. I have a board here, things that I definitely wanted to talk about. And it's great that I even have to refer to this because we've been on a regular conversation. But Glori, I know you are a mental health advocate or something like that, correct?
So I am a licensed clinical social worker and a
Okay.
mental health coach. So I'm a licensed therapist, but I prefer to do mental health coaching versus therapy,
Okay.
which that's a whole nother conversation. And I just think this is such an elegant segue because I'm always listening for the teachable moments, the philosophical elements of things. And you heard me talk about the dichotomy of bodybuilding being this really interesting thing. And then what you were describing about that self-confidence and that confidence you get when you do the thing. And the term for that in mental health practice is self-efficacy, building a sense of self-efficacy of like, I can do things. I can have an effect in the outcome. It's one thing to tell somebody via an empty affirmation, you are worthy, you can do anything. It's one thing to tell somebody that. It's another thing to experience self-efficacy. And you can't have it like a sticker put on your freaking chest. It is a transformative experience that you had to do the things, and when you were hungry and tired and blah blah, and to get to an outcome to where now forevermore you have that reminder of like, I'm capable of doing things over a longitudinal basis and being effective at it. So all of this is like always swirling in my mind as the teachable moments. But for me, even with the judging, the subjective judging criteria and the dichotomy of like you're focusing on yourself only to then leave it to the others to make a decision, I love it. I think at its core, if you eliminate your ego from the thing, and if you're a little bit more of a spiritual person, bodybuilding is like this total opportunity. Like they talk about how life is lived in the arena. You can't like be a hermit. Life and the lessons of life, and you train in the arena. Bodybuilding affords you an opportunity to learn almost all of life's lessons if you accept that call, right? If you stay, because again, you get to learn how to prioritize your sleep, your food, your rest, all the things. You get to time under tension, which translates to distress tolerance and all these other things in life that we need. You know, you get to learn to not be so impulsive. You get to learn to apply pressure over the long term. You know, we're impulsive by nature, and we develop discipline. We develop over the years if we try this kind of working towards the longer term stuff. And a lot of people have no incentive to do that. They just, high school was the only commitment they ever had long term, and then they're good after that. They just kind of coast. But with bodybuilding, you get to really apply. You do develop community if you're not a freaking asshole. You get community out of it, and not community like, they say that blood is thicker than water or whatever. Like, it's not like a family that you're born into. You build connections with people who share the same journey and interests as you. In life, usually it's our coworkers just because we're in the same freaking cubicle, like whatever. It's not like a true thing. So bodybuilding can afford you all of that. And if you drop the ego, it can teach you humility and confidence. It's weird, man. The whole gamut. So that's what I'll say about that. Like, it does suck about the judging criteria, but I'm also like, I remember when I did the judges clinic and when I did test judging, all systems are flawed, but I thought it was cool that the judges meeting in the beginning, they reviewed the criteria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, even whether, it's like people say the Pledge of Allegiance and only like 30% of people are listening, or, they're not really present for it. But the point is, how nice that as a matter of protocol, hey, y'all, judges meeting, we're going to go over the housekeeping, but let's review the criteria one more again, because we're all biased human beings.
Right.
I don't know if they do this at all shows, but at the ones that I test judged, I was like, that's cool, But again, all systems are flawed. Some people just read over it and it's, you know what I mean? But how cool that it's a commitment to at least review it. And then I do think that, it just depends. I think that the energy around the show, the energy around certain athletes, I think it can't be helped. It's going to bleed into it. And then that's unfortunate because people work really hard and are really genetically gifted. And I'm not trying to make a case for Baby Daddy, but I'm just saying, like, you see it. If you go to a show and you see people, you're like, wow, this person's back, or wow, this person's this. And you see these strengths, and it's like you would hope that the judges are really honing in and placing them accordingly, because that's what it's all for, right?
Right.
But if you drop the ego again, it is what it is. It's very meta. Like, life plays out like that, don't it? And like, if you just keep going, you will be appreciated, and you will come in better, and you'll be wiser and more mature, and your time will come, as long as you don't stop.
Right. Right. No, that was beautiful. Don, do you have anything to add to that by any chance? Because that was a very
I just
well
want to add
explained
on
everything. Absolutely.
and it was a great. But to the end of what she said about your time coming, I hate to be the person to be blunt about it, but bodybuilding's not for everybody. So if you're doing it, you have to understand your why. Some people do it for a transformation. That's how I started. I just wanted to be, right? Some people do it for competition. Some people do it to have their family support them in the sport because they didn't grow up that way. So whatever your why is, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a good point.
Figure out your why and where you fit in bodybuilding. But And this
Yeah.
is right. So this is just me being as blunt as possible. Bodybuilding is not for everybody, and just because you want your time to come, your time may never come. But
Mm.
if you figure out your why, and if you
That's
love the sport and you love to compete and you love to be on stage, you love the process, day in and day out, you get in the gym, or it keeps you motivated, it keeps you on track, it makes you a better person, then follow it, then do it. But
Yeah.
if you expect to win, expect to be Mr. Olympia or
just
win the Yorton, win these other prestigious shows and be first, just because you feel like you get a turn in this wheel of life, a circle of life, bodybuilding is not for you.
Mm.
That's just the reality of it. And something I did want to add about my critique earlier,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
about us being about some of the judges, well, judging as a whole being flawed, not pointing out on anyone. And this is from somebody who wins. I win because I work hard. I don't win because I get handouts. So when I go and I come off stage, I don't feel bad about being first or being second because I work hard for it, right? Um, but we do need better criteria, better rubrics to be able to judge as objectively as possible. I think the NPC is doing a great job. When they announced that next year, men's physique, they're
Yeah, I
probably
saw
going to
that.
this is going to start adding the weight limit in the size criteria. So they're going to try to limit the size because some of these men's physique guys are actually bigger than bodybuilders.
Right.
Um,
mm,
Right.
and it's becoming unfair for other guys to compete within that division. So it's going to be, from what I believe, more like classic, which I think is fair for
for what it
and
is.
it'll limit the dangers and everything that comes with the extremism of bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and last thing I want to add is just follow your heart. If this is something that you're interested in, you could be a spectator. Some people are professional spectators to where they just love going to shows. They don't want to be they don't want to buy it. They don't want, they don't want to be, or they want to talk, they want to talk their shit about it, right? And just hearing you, Alan, from and I watched the video, not to watch, well, I watched the video to critique myself, and to see the comparisons and stuff like that. But I watch it for the commentary as well because I'm more interested in the commentary than the physiques because the physiques change. Even if we were on stage, say in about 6 months, the same group of people will all look different,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, so that particular show for that particular day is etched in history and it'll never be repeated. So that's the magic of it. So
Mm.
having that in my mind when I'm training for a show or I'm getting ready for a show and I'm prepping for a show, that's what I have in the back of my mind that this is your one shot, right? And
Mm.
one thing I get asked a lot about how do I present myself on stage so calmly, so confidently as well. It's for me one because I love to be on stage, but the way I think about it, we all get the jitters, we all get nervous going on stage before going on stage, and because you don't know what the outcome is, you want to be, you know, the best. And frankly, we're in front of hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people in our underwear, so it's uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah.
literally, this is what we dream about, right? Um, these are nightmares. But the way I think about it is as we're going through, if you've ever been to a football game as in the stands or just in that environment, and as a football player or as a marching band, you have a marching band going through the tunnel, or the marching band might be on the side, right? Because they go through the tunnel and then they're on the side. But then you have the football players getting ready to go through the tunnel, so everybody knows, everybody's clapping, cheering, and you're in the dark. As you're going through that tunnel, you're in the dark, right? But you know what's coming. You know there's light at the end of the tunnel, metaphorically speaking and literally speaking at this point. But so the anticipation that you had, the nerves that you had in the locker room, the jitters that you have, is waiting to go through the tunnel. once you finally get through that tunnel and you see all these people cheering for you, they're here for you. They're here to watch
Mm.
you perform, watch you be your best, watch you be your best, and you get to show off what you worked so hard to accomplish. The only time you would be nervous at that point or uncomfortable at that point is if you didn't practice, right?
Mm.
But as soon as I go through same thing metaphorically, as soon as I get on that second, third step and I step on that stage, it's radio silent. Um,
Mm.
so it's something that if I could translate that, maybe that an analogy would work in helping people understand that it's not as bad as you may think, and sometimes you have to get out of your head, and you
Amen
have
to
to be
that.
real nervous before you can be calm.
Right.
And
Right.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Two things I wanted to emphasize here. Is you're exactly right. You just got to get out of your head on certain things, you know. And the first thing is to really understand your why on stage. You know, I'm one of those
Yeah,
athletes that you just kind of depicted. I know I'm never going to win. I know. Well, I know that I'll probably get my pro card here in the next couple of seasons, whatever here soon, right? But again, sitting next to Eric Shelton, you know, talking to Desario, and I'm just talking about people in my respective division.
right,
I,
right.
I straight up, I don't have the dedication that they do to the sport. I don't have the same natural genetics that they do, and that's okay. You know, that's okay with me because just kind of what you alluded to, my why is just loving the sport, being in it, being part of the community, and then inspiring people to be in the sport. You know, and so like I'm
Yeah,
that person that I just love it. And then on top of that, from a pure vanity standpoint, I love being cut for summer, bulky in the winter. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
I just
yeah,
enjoy that in general. And so like what better way to do that than to get ready for a competition because it definitely helps you kind of what you just said. It kind of gets you dialed into that mindset and the results become inevitable. And if I know that if I didn't sign up for a competition or if I didn't hire a coach, that my approach, kind of like right now, I'm in the off season, I'm like very vague with my approach and my results are right now are very vague. And it's just everything to do with the mindset. But I know as soon as I start to have a coach and I start having a very end line date of when I'm going to step up on stage, then it's like my entire focus just starts going in there. And I've noticed the results, the difference in results between just, hey, I'm going to get, you know, I might do a couple of workouts a week to, hey, I have a competition there in 12 weeks. And it's just like, well, bam, you
that's
know,
it.
everything changes.
Yeah.
And Don,
That's
you
it.
brought up one thing that I've always wanted to ask, especially with bodybuilders, and which is the underwear and the trunks. And you just talked about how you effectively out there in here. Because I'll tell you, for me, I would have a fear of putting on that underwear and being in front of thousands of people. On top of that, like, yeah, I gotta ask. First of all, is it how was that comfort level like, and what did it take for you to kind of? Because I can't imagine you just like, all right, I'm gonna put on some trucks and be out there in front of people. You know, I'm gonna have all these
No,
rubrics or these cubic zirconias in my underwear and just like showing out to everybody, right? Like, so can you
The
kind of?
velvet
right.
do be comfortable though. That velvet though.
Oh, is
I'm
it
just
like
like,
yeah? No. So I want to know, like Don, how is that? I hate to say, I hate to ask another man, how does it feel to put on underwear? But I'm effectively
Definitely,
asking you this right now. Like, so what's that like?
definitely. Yeah, we definitely. Thank you for that question. And we joke about it all the time. But ironically, right, the leaner I get, the less I show. So the leaner I get, the bigger my shirts get, or um the bigger the hoodies get, and I keep my hoodie on. That's just me, right? Um, in the gym, of course. But you got to understand, it's a different environment. When you walk, you might be the best looking guy or the top two looking guy, top three looking guy, best looking guy in your gym. But when you go backstage to one of these dressing rooms, it's everybody looks good. Everybody's show
Yeah,
ready for the most part, right? But also in the same token, everybody's in their underwear. So it's
yeah.
not something where you feel out of place. You're not walking to a professional. Um, it is a professional setting, but you're not walking to a setting where everybody's in suit and ties and you're in your underwear. That would be awkward, right?
yeah,
So it's something that becomes, when in Rome, do as, right? So um, you get used to it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You get used to it. Yeah, you get used to it, and at times it's still a little uncomfortable when I first go back and I'm in my jumpsuit and I strip down and you look around and you feel a slight
Mhm.
uncomfortable, slightly uncomfortable for a little bit, but then
Right.
it goes away, but it's getting out of your head.
Mhm.
It's
Oh.
getting into the mindset that you have to be on stage. You have a mission to complete, or this is a job for you, or you have your family watching. Same thing. These are all different reasons why. Um,
Mhm.
um, some people don't like. For me, I don't. My family support me. They'll watch the live streams. They'll tune in and relish in the pictures. But it's something that I've never had them come to one of my shows. And it's nothing deliberate. It's just I just realized this the other day. But it's easier for me to have them support from where they are.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of right getting out of my head.
Right.
Going on stage in
Oh,
front of
wow.
strangers is more comfortable than going on stage in front of family and friends.
Wow.
Um, and that's the way it works for me. So I'll tell them, look, watch this live stream, and I'll send them the links and everything. Then I'll turn my phone off, do not disturb, and I'll see you, after prejudging or after the show, whatever, right? But if I knew that they were on stage, I'd feel more judged by them than the judges
Yeah.
in the panel.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's something but that's me personally, right? So it's something that you have to, whereas some people may need their family in the crowd to feel like they're supported,
Right.
regardless of who's cheering for them,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And so I'm very grateful to be able to do what I do, and also to be able to understand my why and the factors that sort of contribute to that as well,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Three different.
Yeah, no, well, seriously. Well, you know what's interesting? So I thought about this random scenario last night while I was kind of brainstorming what we were going to talk about, and the trunks came to mind. I was like, yeah, you know
Mhm.
what? I've always wanted to ask someone what that was like to put on trunks. And given
Mhm.
that you
Right.
guys are together and Glori is such a great support system, I love that, by the way. Like, I get inspired to
Mhm.
support people just watching you support him. But I could imagine, and this is my mind here, I can imagine being in trunks and having like my girl support me, do something, make me feel better, and all of a sudden I kind of get like
Yeah.
aroused, and all of a sudden I'm in this underwear, and I'm just like, oh, how do I manage? Because you remember like in 7th and 8th grade, where like I felt like in 7th and 8th grade I just pulling like a random stiffy every
Yeah.
freaking 30 seconds, 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
And then so I
Yeah.
can imagine when you're at a show, Boo things up there trying to hype you up. Oh, he's looking great. Hercules, like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, I'm about to get up on stage. Like, like Don,
I,
do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder,
No,
has
I
that
don't.
moment ever happened? I hate to ask so personal questions, but
No, no, it doesn't. But like I said, I'm gonna keep reiterating it. It's getting out of your head. No, but that's a really good question, and you'd be surprised. That's not the first time I've heard that question.
oh really?
I've
Okay.
yeah, I had one of the guys, and he says, "Man, I want to stay on track. I want to compete, but my girl she would kill me if she found out I would have to sneak away and do one of these shows. There's no way I'm gonna get off look in front of
meanwhile,
other
you're
other women
co-branding
in my underwear,
heterosexual chocolate
right?
mystery. I'm just like, yo, what do
And
you
I'm
got? His pineapple
and I'm
mangoes?
looking at him, and he's serious at this point, and he's so serious. And I say, you know what? And at that moment, I'm like, I'm grateful for as much as Glory can be outward, as much as she is, right? And I said, I'm so grateful for that. I don't have to deal with that. It's something that he said she would kill me. I said, how do you know? How do you know she would? She told me she would. She told me she would. So I'm like, oh man, look, I'm gonna give you the advice. We're gonna drop some weight. We're gonna get you fit, and just do it for her. That's it. Do it for her. Go to the beach, show off with her, and stuff like that. But you got to think as well, right? Me growing up on bodybuilding as a comfortable, none of my
Yes, yes,
friends do this.
Hmm.
Besides
yeah.
Alex, none of my. So I've had guys they work. They tell me, hey man, look, I appreciate you, man. Hey, you one of my good friends, but if you don't stop posting yourself in your underwear, I'm gonna have to unfollow you. I'm like,
I'm not following you.
I was like, I don't know what to tell.
Who taught
Listen,
professional sexual
Oh my,
chocolate? This is
oh
my
my God.
uniform. Like, are you
literally, these are conversations I have almost on a daily basis. Man, you got to stop posting yourself in your under. I had to
Oh my
mute your
God.
stories. I'm like,
You had to mute the
I'm
stories.
glad. Yeah, this is what they're telling me. But growing up, watching these guys, you watching Arnold and Franco and even Flex, for example, walking down the street, Venice Beach, right on the boardwalk or on the beach itself, walking down the street and being admired, and they're in their posing trunks, or going to these posing they're where they're doing guest posing at just these random events in the middle of a restaurant where it's like, okay, you're in your underwear, but they're everybody's clapping and admiring and in awe, right? And this is
Yeah.
why I like guest posing as well. Um, they're revered for what they the work they put in, and it's a reward, right? It's almost like being paid. When you get paid, cash is are receiving cash, for example, is a certificate of appreciation
Right, right.
for your services, right? Same thing. This is the
Yeah.
accolades and the congratulations and all of that is an appreciation of the hard work that you put in, and
Mhm.
you deserve it,
Yeah.
right? You deserve it. You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel out of place. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. It's something that's a lifestyle that you chose, and you chose this lifestyle, so you have to accept every part of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Glory, what were you gonna
13
add?
million ways. Hot damn. So the first one is look but don't touch. Let's be clear. Okay. So let's just be super clear.
Yeah.
Because the kill switch is activated under certain conditions. Okay. And the conditions are not eyeing anybody with it. It's fine. But curb stomp a hoe. So that's just another, you
Oh
can put that
man.
banner. But that's fine. But the other thing that I find ironic is back to the culture that creates the comfort, right? What I
Mm.
found, baby daddy got no issues with the bodybuilding trunks because bodybuilding trunks are what you wear as a bodybuilder. But he be trying to hide them cheeks in the classic trunks.
Oh my
And then I'm
God.
over here like, you should get a cut that shows off them glutes. Come on. And then I have to pull up references and I'm like, do you see
Oh my
Terrence
God.
Ruffins glutes popping out? And that's why he ain't shy. Don't be shy. So, there's that. And then, so I think they need to get a
Oh
little
my
more
God.
stringent with the posing trunks so that we can have some
I'm
continuity
sorry, but you
with
just
the
said he be
cheeks.
hiding them cheeks in them trunks, and I just did
You
not.
know?
I didn't think I was going to hear that. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know why I didn't expect to hear that, but this is great. The support comes
My
yeah,
on
nigga,
stage, off
why?
stage,
What's
on
the
the
point? You
podcast.
got the strike.
Oh my God, that is. You know what? Real quick, I wanted, I wanted to point this out real quick. So, hey Don, do you guys watch football, NFL football at all?
No,
Okay.
baby daddy Mike.
Oh, Don, do you watch football at all?
here and there,
Okay, but do you know how? All right, so
here and there.
you know how like
Oh,
professional athletes at the end of events, if you had a really tough battle, they like exchange jerseys and whatnot. For
Right,
some reason, I get to see
right.
exchanging trunks like at the end of a show. like a little.
the fever dreams of the open-minded bodybuilder. Right? It could happen. It happen. I don't
Hey,
know.
I'm all about trying to popularize the sport and engage in community,
Yeah.
like, man, these are Don's trunks. And just like, could you imagine like just have a giant frame right here in the background of Don's trunks, like in the back of this
Now I
podcast
will.
studio?
On that note,
Listen,
life is stranger than fiction.
I could
I'll
see,
tell you
listen.
this.
I could honestly, I could see.
What do you, well, yeah, go ahead. Wait, Glory, you
That
started.
Go ahead, go
again
ahead.
with the whole preparedness, as you recall, he hadn't planned to do the showtime, and bodybuilding is like a family. If you're a good person, again, if you're not an asshole, you have connections. So we were like racing to find him trunks for the showtime because
Okay.
it wasn't part of the freaking plan. That wasn't part of the plan. We had more than enough time to get him trunks for the daggone Florida State Championships. So I'm over here reaching out to my old NPC judge coaches and being like, hey, and that was actually discussed. Like, hey, maybe one of Ty's posing trunks. So
Oh,
just so you know, it's not so weird. Granted, everything's laundered or whatever, but the fact
right.
remains is that at a certain level, what do you need, friend? You know what I mean? It's not all, and everything doesn't have to be buy a brand new suit. And just like us ladies, we'll be like, hey, you want to borrow my figure suit? So it's not actually as ridiculous of like, you too could be wearing so and so's trunks for the, it's honestly not as crazy as it sounds. And I just want to add one other thing that's funny is you're talking about like the whole potentially getting excited and what is that like and all that.
Yeah.
one thing that I do find interesting that I'm so grateful for in being with him, again, because I didn't meet him as a competitor. He wasn't a competitor when in my mind. He's someone who had competed. He's a person. He's, all these things before he was a 2-time professional sexual chocolate. Before he was any of that. But as someone who I'm truly not a jealous person, I think that the relationship, the integrity of the relationship should dictate all that. If you're secure in yourself and you're secure in your relationship, you shouldn't be jealous. So I'm not jealous. I don't, but I love that we can both share an appreciation of the aesthetics of the sport, such that if I see an impressive physique or I see somebody who's posing, I'm like, baby, you should do this. Like, I can share with him references, or I can be studying other athletes, other aesthetics and stuff like that, and share, and it's not an issue. Versus someone who might be a little bit more insecure. Why are you looking at other men? Why are you looking at this? Classic physique. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
It's research, baby. Or, this looks good and I think it favors your physique. Can you hit that pose? Or can you show me how to get in this position? So that's another feature of that I really think is kind of cool about our relationship, is he could be scrolling through his phone looking at bodybuilders, and so can I. And it's like, it's just another Sunday afternoon. We'll just go
right. Don, what were you about to say when we're talking?
Um,
Am I in trouble? Did I misspeak?
I don't remember at this point.
Oh no. Well, all right. Well, no. Real quick, I want to add this, and then we'll kind of. I have one more question for both of you, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Even though this has been so fun, man, I can't believe it's already been an hour and 15 minutes. Like, man, I want to continue talking to you guys, right? But to add on to the whole bodybuilding thing. So at the Florida Pro,
I don't think.
Well, the looking at bodybuilders and appreciating the bodies that are in bodybuilding. This is our sport. So I remember at the Florida Pro, Kent Beerley came back to the Subcultural Live booth, and he had just, like, I remember he was sitting there and he goes, I think it was bikini or figure or something like that, and he was just all like, "Oh, Alan, get your tongue in your mouth," blah 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 blah, and I'm like, all right. So first of all, I'm an athlete in the sport where there's a bunch of good looking people and they look good as hell and the peak of their shape. I'm going to appreciate the sport for what it is, but I'm also going to be a human being. Like, yes, there's a lot of beautiful women in there. Like, how can you get mad at me? Like, this is why we joined the sport. Well, one of the reasons, right? And so it was funny where it's like, yeah, if you can't appreciate it for just what it is, then what are you doing? Like, if you don't like watching tall athletic bodies perform, like, why are you watching any sports to begin with? And so at some point or another, like, yeah, why can't you just sit there and appreciate the sport for what it is? And sometimes there is some objectivity. Sometimes there is a little bit like, oh yeah, she looks great. Like, it is what it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. And so I hate to wrap this conversation up because I'm having a fucking phenomenal time. I'm not gonna lie with you guys. So the last question I and I usually ask this to everybody as soon as we're wrapping up. What is, like, your plan for the future with the sport? What are you building towards? Is there something that you have, a footprint that you want to put on? I guess either one of you can start with that. Like, so what does it mean for what you guys want to do and what you have yet to accomplish in this sport?
I guess I'm just going to start because I'm always chomping at the bit. I would like to have, my priority is my health. I'm really burnt out right now for other reasons, and I'm taking care of that. But bodybuilding affords me the structure to do well. I can't just wing it. Intuitive eating's not my thing without some structure, So, and I love training. It truly is a part of my, like, self-care. But I said training, not working out. This whole going to the gym, just move is not for me. Like, there's so many other things I'd be going to Costco and have a more, But the point is, training, is something that it gives me purpose. It makes me feel good and grounded in the day, all that. So I'm using right now bodybuilding as part of my recovery strategy with a diet that's a little bit more flexible, because otherwise it wouldn't be recovery if I was like prep mode right now. Right. So my goal right now is to get well, mentally, emotionally, and I'm using bodybuilding as a kind of tool for that.
Okay.
On that note, I'm no longer with the same coach, and that's but for good reasons. And now, Mr. Two-time professional at Sexual Chocolate is writing my programming.
Oh.
So yeah, so I'm trying to get well. Part of my wellness formula also involves, I don't want to say repairing our relationship because it's not like, but if you think about it, prep is hard on anybody. And he is someone that I admire, that I'm clearly obsessed with, that enhances my life. And prep, no matter how you swing it, is very selfish. And so the direction I'm going right now is getting well, all that, and then being more conjoint, being more of a couple, doing more, kind of the opposite of prep is what I'm trying to do, is to kind of just join more in all of this, in this little bodybuilding lifestyle soup. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then as far as in the short term, I switched to bikini because it's more of a lifestyle, lean, sustainable thing. So it kind of fits the bill, all that. And I want to finally find a balance in bodybuilding that takes into account, the mental, the physical, the relational, all of it. And so that's kind of where I'm taking this sport is in that direction. If I can be competitive and actually make money, that would be amazing. That would be another like secondary goal. But beyond that, it's to just embrace the sport from a different angle, prioritize my health and my well-being and my relationships, and then to continue to put the fun and community part of it at the top. So more emceeing, maybe guest posing, and less about the competitive side. So that's a freaking essay, but I think it really captures truly where I'm at with this in the direction. I still want to be in the sport. It is not a stressor, if you know what I mean. It's a contributing factor to my overall wellness. But I want to find a different fit in it, and I want to really elevate community and closeness and relationships versus the grind. And yeah, that's my goal for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And by the way, real quick, your YouTube channel is exudes a lot of what you're talking about. I definitely watch a lot of clips. I love how much you are very vulnerable on your channel, and you express exactly what's going on. Like, it's not about this result. It's not about this, what you can look like. Like, no, it's all the after effect and everything else, like the human process of that journey. And I definitely, I've been meaning to tell you, I appreciate your channel for that. And I appreciate the vulnerability, because I mean, that's part of it, and part of it in so many other aspects of our life, especially when we're transforming into a different version of ourselves. That is a very challenging transformation. And therefore the challenges, the downfalls, the pitfalls, the points that we're vulnerable, those are great things to highlight because that's the truth of what goes on. So the fact that you don't sugarcoat that, that's amazing. And I could definitely see you in that role. So I appreciate that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think people should suffer in silence. That doesn't mean we have to share everything on the internet. I do think that there's value in not suffering in silence, because we support each other through that experience. We normalize things and we can, learn from others, right? So thank you so much for watching and saying that.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Don, Mr. Sexual Chocolate, like we've been calling you this whole time. By the way, Glori, I love all your like random little like. Is that how you guys go out? I mean, out of curiosity, when you guys like go out to a restaurant, like, hey, dinner for two, what's the reservation number under? Mr. Sexual Chocolate? Like, do you like kind of slide that in everywhere
Sometimes
you guys go?
I say chocolate.
Just chocolate, no sex, just chocolate.
What's the name? Chocolate.
Yeah, I'll get an order back, short order, and I'll go pick it up, and it'll say chocolate. Yeah.
There is only one.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right, Don. Yeah. What's instead of being more chocolatey, I mean, is there something like what's your footprint? How's the future look for you with regards to bodybuilding?
Alan, I appreciate you for having us on your channel, man. Uh, you've gotten me to embrace that more than you know. She put it out there with, yeah, you've gotten, yeah. So I will say this, based on your last comment, you saying that somebody said something to you about putting your something about being conservative in how you feel. Um, bodybuilding is a subjective sport. Men are watching women, women are watching men. We, our eyes go, and I've had judges tell me this, our eyes go to what's attractive to us, right? Not necessarily to that point, and not to the extreme, but what attracts us is what um was what we look at, right? So
Right.
after the Showtime Classic, I went and got feedback. Some of the feedback that I got was, of course, coming in a little bit more conditioning, with a little bit more conditioning, which I knew. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I wasn't
Right.
5 weeks out, but also your stage presence. Work on your stage presence, and
Mm.
how you present yourself. Smile more. Um, maybe put your hair up so it's not in your eyes, so you don't look so you look a little bit more welcoming. Um, you
Mm.
know, to the point where it's like, okay, even suit color, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't think it mattered, but I realize now I when I look at these shows, or I look at these playbacks and watch these shows, I look at the suit color in contrast to the person and the color of their tan and everything like that, and how they're presenting themselves, how glossed up they are, and how much, because that's all presentation, how much work you put into your craft as well. Um, so it's something that I'm grateful for, to be able to get judges' feedback. But I don't, like you, I'm unapologetic about if I find um someone attractive in terms of being, on stage, and I'm looking
Yeah.
at a lineup of 4 or 5, right,
Hmm.
where that's what's attractive to us. It's
Right.
it's bodybuilding. That's the way it is.
That's what it is.
Like I said,
Right.
it's not an area where it's part of the environment, but it's nobody takes it overboard.
Yeah.
You know, um, that's just to say that, because I have heard that before, but I've heard that from people who aren't in the world, in this world, or in this environment. So
Hmm.
I brush it off, because I don't expect them to understand. It's not
Right. Right.
it's foreign to you, But I just wanted to make that comment, because you did hear from somebody in this world, and it's not like that.
Right. Right. Right.
My ultimate goal is to um my ultimate goal is to inspire through what I do. Um, I believe in the each one teach one, each one reach one
Mm.
rule. And I also believe in paying it forward. So one thing I learned as I was growing up, I've always had this giving heart, and this was always this type of person. But what I realized is hard. It's harder to touch the masses, as it's harder to touch the masses than it is to reach one person and have them pass it or pay it forward. So I'm grateful for channels like yours, grateful for channels like Glori's, who were able to touch and reach the masses. Um, Someday I'd like to be able to do something like that. But until then, I'm very comfortable with having conversations individually with people, inspiring them, and then having them pass that information along, whether it's something that a technique on something they're doing in terms of working out, or um, a diet trick, or a mindset as well. So I ultimately want to inspire, and I think that this year I've been able to do that more than any of my previous years. And I've been able to do that doing something that I love, which is
Hmm.
I was able to do 4 shows in a span of about 6 weeks, and I'm
Jeez.
grateful for that. But now looking back on it, I was trying to figure out how, but that's what kept me going, the motivation and the inspiration that I was providing. I have people reaching out to me in the DM, hey man, you're such a great inspiration. I'd like to be like you one day. And ranging from 16 all the way to, 30, 40. And of course, I'm very grateful for everything. But it also, like I said, it also shows that something is working. So I'm very appreciative of that as
Mm.
well. So I've been able to do that in a few different ways, inspired. So um, through training, through coaching, and just through
Training.
through presenting who I am, right, and being my authentic self. Anybody who meets me, they'll tell you I'm the same person here with you as I am with them, and everywhere I go, it's a lot easier to be you. It's a lot. easier to be you. It's a lot cheaper to be you. You don't have to, to fake for anyone. Um, Whoever gravitates towards you will do that, and that's the way life works. But I do want to say I appreciate you, Alan. And you have more of an impact than you know.
Yeah.
And fun fact, and I'll leave you with this. And we didn't know each other into 2021, whenever the show was,
Right.
the first show, Glori and I. But that's what sort of drew me to her, just watching her stories. Because before she did the YouTube, she did the Instagram stories, so the IG stories, just watching her. No,
She said she was gonna do it.
Talk to me in person.
Oh,
What were you saying about me?
oh, I did love this.
What
Alan,
attracted you
I
to me?
love
Alan,
this.
turn the camera off.
Turn the
Turn it off.
camera
What
off.
attracted you to me?
Sorry, guys. I just what? What?
I appreciate. That's what drew me to her. Watching her IG stories and realizing how authentic she is, and how um she could show how she could show her flaws as and her weaknesses as well as her strengths. And if it was something like that, and you do that as well, it allows people to feel like they know you, even if they've never met you.
Yeah.
And it's something that silent support we talk about. It's something that it goes a long way, and I do appreciate that.
No.
And thank you for having us. And
Yeah. That man, thank you for that.
But I slid into his DMs first.
You
I was like, yo, that waist, you're so
Yo.
aesthetic, but no creepiness. I just think, very impressive.
see,
And I didn't realize he was.
ladies, see what I'm saying? Ladies, if you have a gym crush, if you have a sexual chocolate boo crush, just slide up in his DM.
Ooh.
Trust me, men appreciate the shit out of that. My DM is open as well, guys. I'm just saying. Anyways, if for you guys, what Instagram handles, YouTube channels, let's get those out there before we wrap this all up. What's your guys' YouTube stuff and everything, or
IG.
social media handles?
Right, IG is for me is the soul pursuit. The soul, SOLE, pursuit, like in the pursuit of happiness.
Yep.
And you can find everything there.
Yeah, and Glori, what's your Instagram, YouTube?
I actually just changed it in terms of like turning this new leaf. So it used to be one thing, but now it is actually Diesel_Glori.
Okay.
So it literally just happened. And that's with an I. Yeah. And my YouTube is the same. I think it's like youtube.com/Diesel Glory. #TenaciousG. That's another handle.
Tenacious G. I love that part. I love that part. But anyways, all right. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Stay on for a little bit longer after you hit the stop on this. And for everybody else that listened to this, hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. And if you gain anything out of this, do me a favor, like, follow, subscribe, and then follow those guys too. They're amazing. Yes, I guess we're turning off the camera, guys. I get it. But anyways, all right, guys. Hope you guys have a good one. And until next time, deuce.